This is Friday again. Oh, this is week 3 of the Truckcast. Been trying to figure out a name for this thing. Truckcast is boring, and hopefully I'll find a better place to do it than sitting in the driveway in the truck or under an oak tree. So I'm thinking maybe Rambling Redneck or the Ramblings of a Redneck. Shit, that's what I am. Anyway, if you got any ideas, hit me up. Let me know. Oh, so yeah, got a little bit different last week, than the first week. Ranted about new laws and freedoms being taken away because it's the 4th of July, but and of course freedoms being taken away from CrossFit boxes by intimating a dress code. Little follow-up on that one. A good friend of mine was congratulated by a stranger, as far as I know, through Instagram. Another friend shared a picture of the two of them working out, and of course I'm paraphrasing, but one of the comments was, tell your friend with the tiger stripes thank you for being confident enough to take her shirt off and helping others to see that there's absolutely nothing wrong with stretch marks or having a little extra fluff around the midline or any damn thing. Hell, it's your body. It's what God gave you. Own it. I don't know. I think it's pretty awesome. I thought that was really cool, though, and played right into what I think one of the best things about CrossFit is empowering people and building up confidence and letting them be who they want to be without outside criticism. But anyway, this week I do want to try to get back into the 5 or 6 things that have had the most impact on my life, and I've thought a whole lot about this one this week, and since I know who I want to talk about and how I want to talk about it, that's a lie. I don't know how I want to talk about it. It's gonna be tough. I don't really have any good way to get into it. I've put it off. I've tried to talk myself out of it, but I keep coming back to, for me, this is what I need to talk about, and I think it will help me. That might be selfish, but shit, I need to get it off my chest. In the first one, the first episode or first podcast, told everybody I lost my mother at a young age. She died when I was 3, and my dad remarried shortly thereafter to a woman that was not very friendly. I keep a running joke that she's, the stepmother Disney movies are made out of. So if you're familiar with Snow White and the Evil Queen, or Cinderella and her essential, a slave master of a stepmother, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Anyway, she was not a very nice woman, and I'm sure had some issues of her own. But that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about her and the impact that she had on my life, and I don't know if it's an overcoming, but maybe just learning to deal with the adversity that was set on me at a young age, and how it affects my current outlook on life, and how it has affected it, and how that evolves. And it is constantly changing, because I try to be a constantly changing person myself. I don't ever want to get to where I think I'm done. I think that would pretty much be death. But some things I need to get out of the way before we get into it. So my grandmothers love me immensely, and I have no doubt of that. And they raised me and filled me with love and took care of me. And without them, I don't know that I could have come out of everything as well as I did. So don't take anything I say in this as an affront. I'm not a person to blame. I'm not blaming anyone. I don't hold any grudges. I'm trying to figure out how to say I don't want anyone listening to this to feel bad about not doing more for me when I was young, or not stepping up, because you did everything you could do. Most of the people in my life were truly wonderful people, and I owe the success that I have, which most wouldn't consider all that much, but I consider it a great thing. Family and a house and good job and career and a lot of hobbies and pastimes. Pretty comfortable lifestyle. I owe it to the great people that have been in my life and helped me step up, or given me some opportunities to step up. Anyway, that's the grandmothers. To my dad, I always thought I understood how hard it would be to lose someone you loved as young as you were, with 2 young kids at home. I had no idea. I think now, my kids are the same age me and my sister were when my mother died. A little bit older. Like I said, I was 3. My sister was not even 1, maybe 1. I don't know. I lose track of time. I'm not good with dates. But I have a 3-year-old and an 18-month-old, and if something happened to Melissa, I don't know what I'd do. And it's an interesting reflection. It's one I hope the majority of people don't think about often, but because it happened to me as a kid, and it has happened to my dad, I try to put myself in those shoes. The empath in me tries to rationalize and to feel what that would have been like, and I can't imagine the loss. Not the loss of the person, but just the being lost, not knowing what in the world to do. It'd be unreal. So, there's definitely no hard feelings there as far as marrying my stepmother and letting things go on as long as they did. Like I say, I don't know that I could have handled the situation as well if it happened to me now. It'd be wild. Like, I don't even want to think about it. But anyway, a couple of things to get into it. Talked a little bit about David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me, and heard him on the Joe Rogan Experience and enjoyed it there. And of course, later on, a couple weeks after that, a good friend of mine, Justin King, was listening to his book on Audible, and suggested it, and decided I'd go ahead and get it and listen to it then. I've listened to it a couple times since then. I've got the hard copy. Can't Hurt Me, David Goggins. Good read. I would suggest it to anybody. I really liked it. Master your mind and defy the odds. That's it. That's the key to life. I know it sounds cliche, but it is. Halfway through it, I sent it to my sister and said, "You got to listen to this." I didn't tell her why I sent it to her. I just said, "You've got to listen to this. It's great." And she hit me back with what I needed to hear. And I didn't ask her, I didn't prod, but I was hoping when I sent her the book, I was hoping that she would respond in this way. And again, I'm paraphrasing, but she sent me a message. It pretty much said, "Oh my God, I'm listening to your story through another person." And that is exactly what I wanted to hear. And yeah, I guess I needed the pat on the back, because I look up to Goggins. Definitely, I think he's an awesome individual, and I don't want to say that my youth and childhood was as hard as his. It probably wasn't, and I have definitely not accomplished what he has. Being a SEAL and all his military accolades, and holding the records that he does, and being the ultramarathon guy. It's amazing what he's accomplished, and I'm not trying to compare myself to that, but the side of it where you grow up hard, with very little joy and a skewed outlook on life because of that, and then overcoming that and finding some happiness and peace and success. That part I want to, that part I think I'm on par with him, and I needed somebody that knew my story to hear his story and tell me that they understood, and she did, and that was awesome. I don't go to her much. We fight like brothers and sisters, but she really came through for me then. The other thing I've been doing is going back and listening to Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. That's another one that I think everyone should read or listen to on Audible, however you consume your literature. I don't have the hard copy of it. I thought I was getting it, but I got this little summary. Look, and it's cool. It's good. It's not as good as having the real thing, but it's definitely got the high points in it. And I think one of the reasons I keep going back to this topic for this week, and I can't get away from it, is his rule number 2. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. And a takeaway from that: we must accept and love the sinners we are, while pardoning and supporting other imperfect beings as ourselves. I'm not good at taking care of myself. I don't really know why. It's not something I've studied on very much. I like to help people. To me, one of the greatest compliments you can pay me is to ask me to help you with something. I like being there for people. I like to be able to do things for people. It's my enjoyment more than anything. But when it comes to asking someone for help, for me, I'll put it off or not do it, or I'll try to figure out how to do things myself. And it's not a bad thing, but it's something that I need to work on. And I think that maybe by telling this story, or what I can of this story, it may help me a little bit with that. So, treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. I'm going to start doing a better job. Instead of trying to help other people lose weight and get into their fitness, maybe I need to try to help myself a little bit more in that regard. Or maybe, instead of trying to help other people find some enjoyment in life and contentment and just being who they are, maybe I need to work on that a little bit too. And then I just really like that. We must accept and love the sinners we are, while pardoning and supporting the imperfect beings as ourselves. My stepmother was an imperfect being. I don't know what made her the way she was when our lives were, or paths were crossed. Everything I've heard, I've not talked to the woman in years, but everything I've heard about her and her new life and her new family, of course it's 30 years ago, she's changed and is a much better person, a much more happy and content person, and I am so happy for those around her and her, if that is the case. But when our lives were intertwined, she was not a happy person. She was an evil person. And I don't mean evil as in God and Satan evil. I mean evil as in just mean, hateful. And she took a whole lot of that meanness out on me. And I may have been the cause of a lot of it. Not saying that I wasn't, I'm sure I was not an easy child. But she came into my life when I was around 4, and I think exited when I was 12 or 13. Like I say, I'm not very good at dates, and I've done a really good job of compartmentalizing and repressing a lot of these things. she had a boy, same age as me, and it always surprised me that my dad took him to be a son and loved him and reared him as best he could. She didn't have that attitude toward me at all. Looking back and reflecting, I've tried to figure out if it was a jealousy. I don't like to go down that road because it makes it seem like I'm putting myself above her son, and I don't want to do that at all. Or maybe a jealousy that my mother was in me and my sister, and she couldn't get past that part. You know, a death and a divorce is two different things. And I've not had to deal with, you know, either really, but I could see having an ex and having a problem with an ex, but you chose to divorce them. It's very easy to say, I don't love that person anymore. I can prove it. I divorced them. They're not in my life. With the death, it's a little bit different. One of the things that I'm very proud of, if you ask my dad today, he will still tell you he loved my mother immensely. That was his love, the love of his life. So, and he was very young when she died, and Kim was very young when they married. I'm sorry, my stepmother, when they married. And if I try to put myself in her shoes, I'm sure that is a very, very hard thing to overcome, knowing that you're not replacing an ex-wife, you're replacing a dead wife. And that's two different things. And of course, we lived in the house that my mom and dad bought together, and my sister and I were constant reminders of that. And our grandparents, you know, lived right up on the hill from us, and they were constant reminders. So, you know, she was at that time a mean and evil person, but I can see the influences that were in her life at that time and why they might have made her that way. I don't know much about her childhood. You know, I had no interest in discovering much about her, you know, and that's, I was too young to be interested in it. And then once she was out of my life, I never tried to regain any type of relationship. So maybe she had a really bad childhood. Maybe she had a really bad youth and some hard times, and maybe that's what made her so hateful. I guess the thing I'm beating around the bush about, and I've not come out and said, is the woman abused me, and my sister and her own son too. But and this, I may be wrong in this, but I feel like more me than anybody. And I'll give the side note, you know, memory is a very fickle thing, and I'm remembering these events as best I can, and I may be wrong in some things. I may embellish some things. It's not intentional, and I apologize if I do. But you know, the abuse was daily. Physical abuse was constant. The mental abuse was always there. And physical abuse goes away to an extent, you know. It's hard to get the posture back. It's hard to stand up tall. It's hard to look people in the eye. But the pain of physical abuse fades rapidly. The mental abuse, I don't know if it ever goes away. And it's, you know, it's something you deal with, and you find ways around, and you can use it to get better, to do better. Physical stuff was, you know, mainly just slaps to the face and being thrown against a wall, or have fingernails dug into your arm. Stuff that isn't that bad, it just compounds. You should never hit somebody in the face. Not unless you're meaning to kill that person. And I can't imagine hitting one of my kids in the face. I'm definitely not anti-spanking by any means. But why would an adult hit a child in the face? Why would an adult hit another adult in the face? Without, I mean, when you go to that far, you know it's time to go to war. You know, that's you've crossed the line. And to be a grown person, an adult, and to strike a young child repetitively in the face, it's just shallow and mean. And I don't understand it. I don't know what the goal is. If I spank a child, it's to discourage a behavior. I'm not trying to break their will. I'm not trying to break them. I don't want them to succumb to me. It's a very specific thing. So I don't understand. I can't put myself there. I can't be that empathetic. I don't understand it. You hit a child in the face and it takes something from them. And it's something that's very hard to get back. And it takes a long time to get it back. Anyway, the physical side was there. And it's there, but it's not there now. It's something that I'm pretty outspoken against, and I would like to be more involved with some of the local charities that, you know, help out with child abuse and stuff like that. It's something I could definitely get behind. I need to do a little bit more digging into the local chapter of BACA, the Bikers Against Child Abuse. I'd like to take a role in that and help out. The mental side of it. So just, you know, little examples. I was called a weird little shit often. Talked down to quite a bit. Was told I would end up in jail and was worthless, would never amount to anything. Wasn't very smart. And none of that sounds bad, you know. I know it doesn't. But when you're 6 and 7 and that's all you hear, you start to believe it. I believed it for a long time. There's still parts of it I believe. And hell, I am weird, but I've kind of grown to accept it and enjoy my weirdness. So to, you know, tell a couple of stories. I remember one time, I guess she was going to get into gardening or landscaping around the house, and she got some new implements, shovel and a rake and a hoe and just little cheap stuff, you know, nothing fancy. But we were all outside playing. Dad got a load of sand delivered in the backyard, put it beneath some pine trees, and that was our sandbox, you know. And my stepbrother broke the hoe, and he didn't mean to, you know. It's strictly an accident. It was just a little tack welded blade of steel on the end of a hook, you know. If we have a fab shop on the premise, it was rather easy to fix. But he broke it, and you know, we all went inside later that day, and I was sitting on the couch, I remember, and she came in and just went off and flailing arms and hitting and beating and doing what she did. You know, once she finally got done with all that, I'm pretty sure I was screaming, you know, what did I do? What did I do? And she finally stopped, and she said, "You broke my hoe. You broke my new hoe. I know it was you. I know you did it." And of course, you know, my response is, "No, I didn't break the hoe," and that just led to more beating. And finally, Rule, stepbrother, came out of the bedroom and said, "No, I broke the hoe." And you know, her response is, "Well, I don't care," and just turned around and walked off. That's you know, a lot of irrationality in that. A lot of misguidance about how people actually are. And you know, we learn from our parents and those around us most closely in our life what the world is like. And thankfully the world is not like that. It's very skewed. And me being who I am, even at that age, you know, I got the two pieces of the hoe and went and got my grandfather and asked him to weld it up for me, and he did. He welded it up, and I took it to her and showed her. Say, "Look, you know, it's fixed. It's as good as new." And I'm pretty sure that resulted in "Well, you shouldn't have broke it in the first place," but I didn't break it. Lots of little things like that went on. Something that's hard for me to talk about, and I guess I should say this is this is more common than I ever thought it was. Bedwetting in prepubescent boys. So I was a bedwetter. I don't know what the term for it is. In my youth, I don't remember at what age it stopped becoming a problem or stopped being a problem. But there's an interesting thing. It can't be helped, and that's one of the things that makes it so hard. If you know, if you're around boys, young boys, and you got a young boy that's having a problem with that, I think there's some medications and stuff you can take now, and that's good, but there wasn't then, or we were too poor to know about them or to get any of them. But she just beat me. If I wet the bed at night, it's the first thing she would check in the morning and beat me. And that's where you're a weird, nasty little shit. You're doing this on purpose. You like to lay in your own piss. That's tough. A young boy shouldn't have to lay in bed and pray to God to please keep him from wetting the bed at night, so his stepmother don't beat him. And I did. I used to say it 1,000 times a night. "God, please don't let me wet the bed tonight." Over and over and over again. Of course, you grow out of it. It's I don't know what causes it. I guess I need to do some research on it. But you grow out of it, and I did. No problem since. With the being called a nasty little weird shit that likes to lay in his own piss, that sticks with you. That doesn't go away. It's it's challenging. It brings about little OCDs. They're not extreme, but I know they're there, of wanting to be clean or wanting to have nice clothes. It makes it hard to just walk into a social setting and introduce yourself, because you're afraid you are the weird little shit, and that everybody will know it and everybody will see it. But getting over that. She was mean. Definitely mean. She was, the kind of person, she'd lock you out of the house. And again, she worked nights. She was a nurse. After school, when we got home, she'd have 3 screaming kids running around. I understand. Get them out of the house. Get them out of the house. But she'd lock us out of the house for hours. We lived out in the country, so it wasn't that big of a deal. We all had a lot of fun playing and cutting up. You know, she hated my grandparents. Made it a point to tell us that often. I don't know, there's just not much happiness. And it's a hard, excuse me, my throat's dry. So you hear stories about middle-aged men and women, you know, that come home from work every day and they pull up to their driveway and just sit in their car because they don't want to go inside. And you think, man, how sad that is, that you've built this life that you don't want to be a part of. You need to change something. When you're a kid, not even a teenager yet, and you pray for the bus to break down so that you don't have to go home, that's a different thing, because it's not anything of your own doing. And there's nothing you can do about it. There's no way out. You know, talking about this stuff after after it came to an end or came to a head, it's one of the things I got asked a lot by loved ones and family members and friends, is why didn't you say something sooner? Why didn't you leave sooner? Why didn't you ask for help sooner? That's all I knew. I didn't know I could ask for help. And of course, asking for help would mean that I put my dad in a choice of choosing me or choosing my stepmother. That's not a choice a kid should make. It's not a choice a kid is equipped to make. So it's not an issue of you know, why didn't I ask for help in that regard. And there was, you know, a long time I held some harsh feelings to people, because instead of asking, you know, why didn't I ask for more help, what I want to ask them is, why couldn't you see it? Why did you ignore it? And again, my family, when my mother died, I'm sure it changed everything. I think about the past a lot, and I like to think about what would have been different if, you know, if she wouldn't have had that wreck that day. And I used to love to daydream about it, you know, live in my own mind and think it would be so much better. But I don't know that it would. I don't know that anything would be better. It would just be different. As I've got a great life right now. I've had a great life. Oh. A lot of people have had it. I've never been starving, that's for sure. And I've never felt unloved by anybody but her. I've always had people that loved me in my life, and I knew that. The abuse that I'm talking about now, it just happened at a time when I was too young to be able to go to those people, and too young to know that it wasn't right, that it wasn't normal. Oh. Anyway. So, what brought it to a head, or what ended everything, I remember I was in the 7th grade, and my stepbrother and I were in different classes. We had a different class, set of rotations, you know. And we come in one night. Neither of us had good grades. We weren't those guys. But come in one night, and she said, "All right, y'all start doing your homework." And he got his books out and sat at the bar and started doing his homework, and I didn't have any homework. So of course she come in and she said, "Well, why aren't you doing your homework?" I said, "Well, I don't have any." And you know, she said, "Well, go do his homework." And I don't know why, you know, that's minuscule. It's nothing compared to what I had grown up with and endured from her, but that was just the point that I was, no, I'm not gonna do it anymore. And I told her, I said, "No, you know, I'm just not. And I remember she slapped me, and that didn't faze me, because by this time I was as big as her. And, you know, you beat a kid long enough, he gets to where he can endure a slapping pretty good. So she grabbed me like that with her little fingernails, you know. Was trying to hold me there with her hand, and her back was to the living room, and there was a TV in there, and I just kept doing this and this and this, and she was screaming and yelling. She finally said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to watch TV." I mean, I was done. I was mad. She was mad. And finally told her, I said, "Look, I'm done. I'm going to my papa's." I went and told my sister, I said, "Look, I'm leaving. If you want to come with me, come on. I ain't gonna be back here." And I remember her last words to me were, "Your daddy's gonna be mad when he gets home." And me thinking, that's okay. I'm done. And I guess that's the hardest part, you know. She always had that to lord over me, that if you don't do what I say, if you don't do this, if you don't go along with this, if you don't take this abuse, your dad's not gonna love you anymore. And probably because I lost my mom, having my dad's love and admiration was, and still is, like the utmost important thing to me. But anyway, my sister said, yeah, I'm going with you. So we started to walk, you know. Papa's house was up the hill, you know, as the crows flies, about 2,000 feet from ours. It's an eighth of a mile walk around the road there. But he happened to be working at the shop, you know, just down from our house. So hit the driveway, and of course she's on the front porch screaming, you know, "If you leave now, your daddy's gonna be mad at you. He ain't gonna have nothing to do with you." You know, all that spiel. Got in the car with him, and I think I told him the same things. Like, I can't live there anymore. I can't be around her anymore. And somehow they got in touch with Dad, and I think I told him the same thing. It's like, I'm not going to live in the house that she's at. I'm not going to live with her anymore. I can't do it. And I've never been so proud of him. I never will be, I don't guess. It took him a little while to get to me. And I found out that the reason it did, he had to go and talk to my mama Joni to keep from killing her. And to calm down. And he kicked her out of the house that night. And I'll love him forever for it. Because I didn't know until then that he'd choose me over her. But he chose me over her. Sorry. Things got better, much better after that, as far as comfort of living goes. Me and my dad and my sister would rent a movie once a week, play video games. Me and my sister had problems, you know. I'll get into them someday. But so much of a better time. It's so much different to be able to just come home and not know that you're going to be tortured. Or know that you won't be tortured. I think I threw a double negative in there. To spend so many years knowing every day was going to be bad, and then changing to knowing that today will be good. It's an amazing feeling. I still carry her scars, and I think I carry them well. I don't know why she was mean like that. I may ask her someday, and I may not. I don't have any hard feelings toward her, because without her, and without her being the way she was at that time in my life, I wouldn't be who I am. And I really like who I am, or I'm starting to like him more and more. I've got some skills and some traits and some abilities that I owe directly to her. I am really, really good at being by myself and taking care of things on my own. I'm really, really good at living in my head and compartmentalizing. And when I'm in a rough patch, I can go to a place. Nothing bothers me. We're looking at a little rainstorm coming up now. We've been getting ready for it all day, and I see people running around and they're nervous and scared. And one of the things I owe to her is I have absolutely no control over the weather, so I can just let it go. It doesn't bother me at all. I get ready for it and then go on. The downside to that is what I also owe to her is being uncomfortable around people. Being very uncomfortable expressing myself or letting people in and letting them see who I am, because I am the weird little shit that like to lay in his own piss. I'm very private for that reason. The fear that someone will always figure out who I really am and then leave me, or not like me, or call me a weird little shit, is always there. I think that's why I have such a need to please, or why I think it is such a compliment if someone asks me to help them. As if I can help, if I can help somebody, then they'll like me. Coming to terms with this stuff, and it's very hard. It's a whole lot of self-reflection. And, great books like The 12 Rules to Life, Jordan Peterson, being a psychologist, really helped with that. A couple of other ones that I really like, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and The 4 Agreements. They both made some huge impacts in my life. But anyway, back on track. He kicked her out of the house, and that was that. They talked off and on for the next few months, but they got a divorce. And I miss my stepbrother, truly. And I don't think his life went very well after that. And I hope that I'm not to blame for that. I know my dad loved him very much, and still does, and I still call him a brother. I've not seen him in years and years, but I hope he's doing well wherever he's at. The stepmother has a new life and family. She remarried, had some kids, and from what I understand, she was a totally different person with her own kids in that life, and I hope for them as well as her that that's true. I forgave her a long time ago, because I don't know why she was that way, but I'm sure she had her own reasons. And it does me no good to hold a grudge. All I can do is see the traits that I have, or the oddities that I have, or the issues I have, and try to assign reasons to them, and then work on changing them if it's something that I don't like, or amplifying them if it's something that I do. It's tough. So, reasons for spending 45 minutes rambling on about this, and I needed to get it off my chest. I needed to get it out in the open. I talk about it often with my sister and my dad, and when we're together, but we're only together once or twice a year now. I wanted to get it out there, get it off my chest. It helps me. It makes me feel better. It's stuff that I should talk about more often. So that's the selfish reasons for it. What I hope people will take from this, if they listen to it, is, multiple levels. If you were abused or are being abused, you can overcome it. You can walk away from it. There's people that'll help. There's always people that'll help. But you got to go find them. You got to ask for it. More importantly, if you're a person and you think that a child might be being abused, my little girl just looked out at me from the carport door, and that lights up my world. Anyway, sorry. If you're an adult and you think that some kids may be being abused, please ask. Please step in. Please talk to them. And they're not going to admit it. They're not going to tell you they're abused for fear of losing what little they have. So dig, look, try to see. Damn, it's so important. Be the shoulder for people. If somebody needs to cry, let them cry. If somebody needs to vent, let them vent. Be there for people. Listen with intent. Oh. Listen to what people say. And even if you're, the other thing to take away from my story, like I said, I don't have a lot of success in the normal American idea of what success is. I'm not famous. I'm not rich. Damn, I'm not rich. But I've got a nice house. I've got some cool toys. I have a good wife. And I have 2 daughters that I love more than anything in this world. And I think they love me more than anything in this world. And that is wonderful. Wearing my grunt style dad shirt today. But be full of love. Don't be mean to be mean. Know that when I say sinner, I don't mean it in the Christian sense. Get that out of the way. I mean it in the sin being falling short of the mark. You've missed the target. We are all sinners. We all fall short of the mark. None of us are perfect. So accept that in everyone else. Accept that others aren't perfect. Love them anyway. Don't be mean to be mean. Use being mean as the last resort. I don't really have anything other than that. That was pretty hard for me, and if you watched it this far, I appreciate it very much. And if you have any questions or want to reach out, I'm here. I've been meaning to say that, and I may put this a little bit on the intro as well. I would love to hear comments, feedback of any kind. On Instagram, I'm Hendrix302. Of course, YouTube, you got me here. Email is hendrix.john30@gmail. I'm easy to find. Facebook page is Hendrix302 as well, so I'm there. This is week 3. I'm going to try to keep it going. I've got a few more episodes like this where I want to get into some heartfelt stuff about what I think has helped me become who I am, and then we'll do something else. Like, I want to get some people in here I want to talk to. Might get somebody sitting in the passenger seat of the truck. We'll do a dual truck cast. But want to do some interviews, want to hear from other people, and talk about all kinds of topics. But anyway, thanks for listening. Hit me up if you need to. Hit it like you live.